Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. We want you to live your best life. We want you to live maybe an adrenalized life. Think about that. Two powerful words, adrenalized life. We're going to delve into that and how a life coach can really help you get that done and live your best life. He is Tom Marino. He's an amazing life coach. Great to have you back, Tom. How you doing?
Thanks, Steve. Thanks. Great to be back. I'm doing really well today, and I'm adrenalized today, Steve. It's all about being adrenalized, and it's about, adrenalized really in two words is acting decisively, right? We come from a place of indecision often. And when I work with people, it's because they're looking for a way out of their stuckness, right? A way out of, and they need to make some decisions, but they're either too afraid to or they're not ready to. And that's what the adrenalized life is about.
How did that all come about? And show everybody your shirt. So
this is Live Adrenalized is one of the shirts. You can get it at liveadrenalized.com. So liveadrenalized.com is, you'll find the Adrenalized Life merchandise. We have some hats too. This is the Adrenalized Life hat.
Nice.
And we have other products that that will remind you about making decisions every day in a decisive way, right? So one of the things I've been working on is really developing. I have a PR person who works with me who was like, what is it that you want people to feel when they work with you? What do you want them to take away from every session with you, right? And when you start out really figuring that out, like there's a lot of words that come to you. I want people to feel energized, and I want people to feel confident and worthy and fulfilled and catapulted. And I want to have piqued people's interest. And I want to have people come in who feel down, but leave with hope and leave with a plan and leave with decisions to be made and actions to take. And we were playing around with all of these different words, and a thesaurus is an awesome tool, right?
Sure.
You go to the thesaurus, Steve, and you look up what else means, right? And because as a coach, there's so many life coaches out there, right? And I position myself as a success strategy coach because I'm focused on people's success, right? But I want people to live adrenalized. I want them to have an adrenalized life where they always feel empowered and have the framework to make decisions and take the action that they need to take, right? And that comes through that whole process of choice that we've talked about prior. But this word adrenalized came about from a thesaurus. She literally said to me, she said, what do you think about adrenalized? And I was like, wow, I can make people feel adrenalized, right? And it really resonated for me, right? Because it's one of those things where, adrenaline is usually seen in a fight or flight situation.
Yep.
And I'm a physician assistant by training, right? So medicine, hormones, catecholamines, anything that's going to get your juices flowing, right? Those are all things. So I felt a connection to the word adrenal, like adrenal, right? And adrenaline. And epinephrine is another name for it, but epinephrinized, I don't think would have worked as well. So we went with adrenalized. And, it's, in that situation where you're stuck or you're fearful and you can't make that decision between, am I going to fight or am I going to flee? It's adrenaline that brings you to that action because the blood gets to your muscles and gives you the strength to leave. Right. And it really gives you that Superman ability that you don't always have. Right. When you're in a fight or flight situation, it's the adrenaline that makes you that Superman. And it also brings you, blood supply in the brain to make more decisions in that moment, to make a decision. So it just connected for me from a physiological standpoint for circumstances that a lot of my clients are in when they come to me is that stuck place. Right. They just don't know what they want to do next. And I've had some great calls this morning, even with some potential clients, some other clients that are ready to get back into the game and really work this time. And, you got to do work, right?
Yep.
And you get to where you want to be. But it's really about people getting unstuck. So Tom Marino is the adrenalized coach. He's the adrenaline guy. He gets you pumped up and gets you ready to go. And, that's what it's about.
So question about that. And you sparked something in me with what you just said. So many people are stuck, in a rut. We use a cliche. When somebody's in a situation where they need to make a decision, and it could be a life decision, what's your advice to them? I mean, we don't even, unless we need to get into detail what the decision is.
Yeah.
What, how does that work? I
Well,
call it, and I don't know if it works, maybe it works for me, the scale of life. So I put it on a scale, the good,
yeah.
the bad, weigh it out. What's your suggestion when somebody's in a situation like that?
I think the thing that paralyzes most people is the overthinking the situation.
Yep.
They overthink it, right? So thinking delays the decision itself from happening, right? Overthinking is one of the greatest flaws that we have as human beings. We overthink situations. We try to, and we make assumptions. We make a ton of assumptions in that overthinking process, right? We try to play out all the scenarios. We assume something's going to happen a certain way, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen that way, right? So overthinking, I think, just leads us to more assumptions. And I say, stop making assumptions, right? Stop assuming that this is going to be the way that it's going to be. Because, when I work with couples specifically, when they are stuck in a decision about their relationship, or they're stuck in a decision about what to talk about to each other, it's often based in an assumption that is false, right? They're taking away their partner's ability to make their own decision, right? So when a couple is in an argument, right, they say, well, I didn't want to say that because I thought you would get like this. I thought you would be mad if I said it, right? We hear that all the time, right? So that's just a simple case of where you need to make a decision to say something to your partner that needs to be said, but the assumption gets in the way of you making that decision, right? It stops you from taking the action, and actually it works against you, right? It becomes that thing that works against you because you overthought it. You assumed what your partner's reaction is going to be. And that may not be the case at all. But
what about if it's in a situation where, let's say you have two jobs that maybe you've been offered and you're thinking about one or the other, or let's say you're thinking about moving and should I pick this place or should I pick that place? How do you make the logical choice without overthinking it?
Yeah, I think what you have to do there is go to your checklist, right? So let's take the two jobs, for example. Okay. I always tell people to take your core values and match up your core values with the job that you're considering, right? So analyzing is not overthinking. Doing a data dive is not overthinking. It's when you overanalyze or you become paralyzed by your analysis. That's the dangerous point, right? But analyzing and weighing the decision is necessary because there is a choice that needs to be made, right? And some people's indecision will be to not take either job because they can't figure it out. But the point is that when you go through a job search and you've gotten to that point where now you've been offered two jobs, you have to really go to your core values first. What aligns the most for you in your core values? What is the best option for you from a core value standpoint? And did you see your values played out in the interactions that you had with that company? Because if they didn't exist in the company, are you forcing it? Right? That's what I always ask people. Are you forcing this decision? Because what do most people make the decision based on, Steve? They make it based on one thing, money. Right? They typically make the decision based on money. And yes, maybe it's a $5,000 difference. But if you look at your values around that $5,000 difference, if the place that's paying you less aligns with you more, you're going to be happier. And the $5,000 is going to be meaningless at that point.
Yeah. And you
right?
forget there's value in other things like vacation time, flexible schedule, work from home, whatever it might be.
Yeah. And that's what we're facing right now, with the great resignation and everything. We're facing these massive decisions and the employee is in charge. The employer is no longer in charge, and not in this economy, not in this post-pandemic period that we're in, this this great resignation that has happened is causing so many people to really have power and control over what they want out of a situation, right? So remote work, hybrid work, people don't want to go into work anymore. They want to work from home. If they're in an indirect service business, they want to work from home because there's no point for you to go to an office. There really isn't. I mean, frankly, we've proved that the world's kept going in a quarantine period.
Yep.
But going back to the original root of making the decision is where's the value alignment? And you have to ask yourself very simply, is it worth it? Is it worth the extra $5,000 if I have to really force myself into this hole? And make the decision based on several factors, right? Rate your factors on a scale of 1 to 10, right? So salary, where are you on that? Time off, where are you on that? Professional development, where are you on that? Hybrid work, where are you on that? How does it rate? And score it. And simply just score it. And you'll see very obviously the decision that you need to make.
I love that idea. And I'm a big fan of the scale of 1 to 10. Even if you ask anybody, any question, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think? Somebody will always answer. So ask yourself those questions based on the decision you have to make. It's powerful.
Absolutely. And, that's such an important point that you're bringing up about the 1 to 10, because I use that in my first conversations with people that are potential clients of mine, right? So I had a call this morning talking to this guy, young guy. He's had his own business. He was overwhelmed by his own business. So he went back and worked for a corporation, but the corporation he feels is price gouging and doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And it doesn't align with who he is, right? So he was overwhelmed by his own business, but he went to somebody else's business and now he's overwhelmed with the lack of alignment. So he's at a crossroads. He's at a point where he needs to make a decision, right? You go back out on your own or you find another job, right? What do you do, right? And I said to him, I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to get your company back? He said, I'm a 10 and I need to make this happen. And that for me is a client who's ready to do the work. If I ask somebody on a scale of 1 to 10, how ready are you to make this change? And they say 6 or 7, they're not ready. I have to find out what it's going to take them to get to a 10 before I can really understand if I can help this person. And sometimes it's just giving the space for the solution to develop, right? That might get someone from a 6 to a 10. But if you're not a 10, when I say, here's what we're going to do together, you're not going to be a good client for me. Right? I had a call last night with someone. She very motivated, very ready, but not able to commit the investment, right? Because this coaching is an investment. Sure. And people don't realize that it is an investment. It's an investment in yourself. And I always tell people, you're making an investment in yourself. You make a car payment every month for X amount of dollars. You spend thousands of dollars a year on a car payment. It's a necessity to get everywhere you want to go. Why wouldn't you make that kind of investment in yourself? Why wouldn't you?
It would be changing. And think about this. You make the right choice based on working with a life coach. You could get a better car.
Exactly. And that's why I said to the guy this morning, I'm like, it's going to cost you X amount of dollars. I said, but based on what you're telling me, I can help you scale your business, right? So he's thinking of charging X amount of dollars. And I said, well, is this client someone are you saving them money from where they are today if you charged $1,000 more? So instead of charging them $5,000 a month, if you charge them $6,000 a month, would you be saving them money in the long run? And he said, yeah, I would be. I said, okay, so why wouldn't you charge that? And all the self-doubt came up. Well, I don't know if I could deliver that value. I don't know if I could, right? But our self-confidence and our self-doubt will come into play in making us feel less confident about making that kind of a value offer to someone. And then we get stuck. And then we don't leave our jobs because we're afraid to ask for more money from someone that we know we can provide better value to, right? And that makes a lot of indecision for people.
It really does. And everything, you know what it is? When you buy something, it has to be logical. It has to
Yeah,
make sense. So
yeah,
when he needs to buy into himself where it makes
exactly.
sense, right? And that's
Exactly. I tell people all the time, the greatest investments that I've made in myself has been in coaches. Like I've had in the last couple of years, three different types of coaches. I've had people that I've had a coach who coached me on how to do social media, and a coach that taught me how to get out there and raise my value for the offer of my packages. I have a business coach I'm currently working with, and I'm investing in that. And we're talking about thousands of dollars of an investment. But since I started working with this person, I have made all of my money back. I paid her for 3 months, but I've made back more than I paid her already.
yep.
That's what happens when you start to take action, right? Part of a de-adrenalized life is taking action. And I'm not asking any client of mine or prospective client of mine to do something that I myself have not already done and seen the benefits of. And that's what I think makes me more effective as a coach, because I've invested in coaching myself. I see the value in coaching for me and how it has changed my life. I wouldn't be making what I make annually in a coaching business if I didn't have coaches encouraging me to demonstrate my value, to show what I'm worth, and to help people get what they need. Because the benefit of working with me is you're going to have clarity. You're going to understand how to handle your obstacles. You're going to understand how to handle your fears. You're going to understand how to build infrastructure in your business and scale your business. And you're going to be able to go at it confidently, right? And I told the guy this morning, listen, for the next couple of days, I want you to practice this one phrase. My services are $6,000 for the month. Start saying it. Become comfortable with that language. Become comfortable saying this is how much it's going to cost you, because a lot of people who go into sales are not salespeople,
Mhm.
especially coaches. Especially coaches. We're not salespeople, right? And I don't sell coaching. What I do is I help you to come to make an investment in yourself so that you can get to where you want to be. And I'm just that navigator. I'm selling navigation services, right? I'm helping. I'm the navigator of the ship. That's what you're asking me to do. I'm your chauffeur on your road to success.
I love that. It's like, Tom, take the wheel, drive.
Yeah,
Help
yeah,
us drive. Show us the way.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Exactly. It's like you just made me think of that song. Jesus, take the wheel,
Oh,
right?
right.
Jesus,
Yeah.
take the wheel, right? You're looking for that guidance. You're looking for that guidance. You need someone to take the wheel to help you, because you're not in a place here mentally to really drive the car anymore. You need to be the passenger, and you need to see the different perspective from the passenger side of the car versus the driver's side of the car. And that's what coaching with me is about. It's about raising awareness. It's about changing your perspectives. It's giving you new perspectives.
What are, Tom, some of the tools, some of the resources you have when you
Yeah.
coach somebody?
So I have a slew of resources that I put out there. I put out a ton of content. There's a ton of content that comes with Tom Marino. Okay. Because I don't do social media posting for the purposes of getting new clients and posting for the sake of posting. I do it to have my conversations with my clients, because I encourage my clients to follow me. It becomes a library. It becomes a daily conversation with me, because I write my posts from a conversational perspective, right? So it's the content of the social media. I have a book. I wrote a book called Bridge to Change, and that book has 10 chapters in the book that walks you through each step of change and makes change simple. It makes it simple for you, right? It makes it a simpler process than most people see change as. Okay. And so you have my book. Then you have my book inspired a coaching program where I have modules for people to work through each step of the book and do a deep inventory of themselves, dive deeper by doing forms and watching videos and trying to get the most out of the work that they need to do in order to make the changes that they need to do, right?
Yeah.
And they need to make in their life. I also have an app. So the coaching program is on the app, and in the app is my blog and resources and access to all of the things that I'm putting out, and kind of centralizes everything that I'm doing. right? And, you know, I have a podcast of my own. I have a radio show of my own. I have things that I'm always talking to my clients, and I am talking to people that are not clients, but I really do it for my clients. And there's all these resources. I've written hundreds of blogs around, maybe hundreds, over 100 blogs probably in the last couple of years, like that are written as conversation to inspire and to give people tips on how to execute, because execution is where people's indecision also comes from, right? People don't have ideas, but they don't execute those ideas. And I help you to execute them.
I have so many ideas, and I've even gone as far as building websites for them, but never took the next step. Things did get in the way. You know, there was COVID
Yeah.
and other things. And somebody else took one of those ideas. There's room for everybody in this world, but
Yeah.
it just reminded me, is like, that was a really good idea. And shame
Yeah.
on you for not moving forward with it. And maybe it was a fear of failing at it. Maybe it was just
Right.
at the time too much on my plate to deal with, but it's something in my DNA that says you should be doing this. You need to
Right.
take that next step.
Right. Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, you have all the ideas, but the execution is that's where you fail, right? That's where you, and I don't like to use that word, right? But it's where you miss the opportunity,
Mhm.
right? And we have to start to see everything as opportunity. Everything, no matter good or bad, how it comes about, is
Yep.
opportunity for learning, it's opportunity for growth, and it's opportunity to make a different decision, right? It's an opportunity to do something to get you further ahead.
Even based on what you said at the gym on the wall, it says a bad workout is the one that didn't take place.
Right.
So failure of
Exactly.
execution, just it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Question for you.
Yeah.
We are so paralyzed about change. So many of
Mhm.
us are afraid of change, whatever it might be. I know this is, we're going to boil it to basic, but what is the one piece of advice you have for somebody that is contemplating a major change, but just is afraid to do it?
Right. There's a great question that I have clients answer when they start working with me every day. There's like three questions. It's why are we doing this? Why is it a must? And what happens if you don't do the work? And the thing that I'm going to say to you is, if it doesn't change, if you don't do the work to make the change, what will happen? What will be the outcome for you, right?
Hmm.
So most people, urgency is necessary for change. You need to have a sense of urgency to make change, right? And if you don't have that sense of urgency, you're missing the motivation for that change in the moment. But you have to activate your desire. What do you want to change? And do you have enough desire to change that and make it different, right? Like 5 years ago, when I quit a job and had no job to go to, there was a sense of urgency, and I had to make a change. And that change has catapulted me to be here right now talking to you about my emotional brand, the Adrenalized Life, that I want to adrenalize you, because I became empowered through my own process of change. What we have to see is the change is empowering, change is opportunity. And what happens if we don't make that change? Are we going to be able to live with ourselves? And it's a series of choices. If you don't make that choice to change, you're making a choice. And that choice is to stay stuck, stay in a comfort zone, and never grow, and not have that growing kind of mindset versus that fixed mindset where you just stay complacent with that comfort zone. So my inspiration is what's your urgency, and
Hmm.
what happens if you don't do the work to make that happen?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like when change is thrust upon us versus when we choose change, it's very different, right. So if you have a flood in your house, right, well, you got to make a change now. You got to get the water out, and you're going to have to change things up, and things are going to have to get fixed, and that's an indication that change is being thrust upon us, right? Sometimes when an accident, right, client of mine was in a terrible car accident. She had just started her business. She was escalating too fast. She needed to slow down. The accident actually happened for her. It pushed her to slow down, to think about what she's really doing. We miss those opportunities that we think are bad things, like, woe is me. Why did that happen to me? Why did I have to have surgery on my hand? But it really happened for you because it taught you skills on your other hand that you have. You learned a new software that you can dictate into your computer and get work done. You stretched your limits in other ways that if you didn't have that injury to your hand, you wouldn't have even considered, right? So when change is thrust upon us, it's a lot easier for us to start to see that we have to make the changes. But
I love what you just said, Tom, regarding, excuse me, pushing forward and the limits in us. We don't recognize our limits until we push them. How do you even know? How do you know what they are? You think you know what they are. And sometimes that is the change you're putting on yourself, literally the chain saying, I can't go, I can't do that. I can't go past that point. You probably can, right?
You definitely can. And that's where getting rid of the self-limiting beliefs that you have.
Yeah.
Right. Those self-limiting beliefs is what also promotes indecision. Because if you don't believe you can do it, you don't make the decision to do it.
Right. Yep.
And, you got to make smart decisions. You got to make decisions that are really honor. Like, if you can't play an instrument, doesn't mean you can't do anything else. You just can't play an instrument if you feel that way. But if you feel that you can learn to play that instrument, then try. Make the decision to try.
You know
Sometimes
what?
that's the only decision we need to make, is the decision to try.
We all can play the instrument. There's no reason why one can and can't. It may be easier for one person than it is for the other person, but do we need to play an instrument? Well, maybe not. But if you really want to play the instrument, it's got to come within, and you've got to want to play the instrument.
And there's the desire.
Right. Doesn't mean you can't unless, you don't have hands.
Right. And want and can't are two very different things. And that was a post that I did this week too, is that want and can't, because I can't do that is such a limiting belief that holds people back.
Yeah.
But want and can't are two very different things. Is it that you can't do it or you don't want to do it? Right. Examine that.
Exactly. What can't you do?
There's really nothing that you can't do.
Like, when you think about it, I know
you can do anything. You can do anything.
Yeah.
A normal guy like me with a voice like mine, even I can have a radio show, right? I mean, that's and do a podcast, right? Because I want to do those things. It's my desire to do those things that make me want to do them. And that's what makes it possible. But, if I said I couldn't, it wouldn't happen.
You said you have a medical background. Did you say PA, I think you said?
Yeah, I'm a physician assistant by training. Yep.
Okay. Could I do that?
Absolutely.
I probably could. And that doesn't take anything away from you. It would be a lot harder for me because I'm not wired that way. Right. And I have friends who have become PAs, and I know the tests and just what goes into it. If I applied myself, I could probably pull it off. It wouldn't be easy, but the other challenge is I don't want to.
Right. Exactly. And you have to want, but want is not can't.
Exactly.
Want is not can't. And that's the limiting belief. I tell people, stop saying I can't do that. Say, I don't want to do that, or I want to do that, or I can do that, right? It's all in the language that we say to ourselves. So
absolutely.
That's the bottom line, is remember that want is not can't, and can't is not want.
I want to keep this conversation going, but I can't. We're out of time.
Absolutely. We can pick up here next time.
Yeah, definitely. Hit a bunch of really important things, and hopefully we help some people out. TomMarino.com is your website. When they go there, how do they connect with you? How does it work?
So there's a contact form there that they can fill out. And also I encourage people to follow me on Instagram at Tom Marino Coaching. That's Tom Marino Coaching. And just DM me, check out my stuff. Check out if something resonates for you. And if you really aren't sure how to make a change, it's usually the how. How do I go about this, Tom? So just DM me. You could DM me podcast, and we'll get connected, so that way I know how you heard this message.
Yeah. And the nice thing about it is you're available. If somebody has questions, like you just said, you talked to somebody, possible client this morning and also last night.
Yeah.
It's not going to cost you anything to talk to Tom. Tom.
It's a free conversation.
Yeah. And you
It's
might,
a free convo.
if you don't take the next step, that's on you.
That's
But
on you.
you might even learn something even from the phone call talking with Tom.
Well, that's why I tell people all the time. If I only get to spend the 30 minutes with you or 30 years with you, I just want to have an impact on you. That's all. And help you to figure something out that you're struggling with or that you need help figuring out. That's all.
Love it. Look forward to talking to you next time, Tom.
Thanks, Steve. It was good to see you. Have a great rest of your day.
And live
Adrenalized.
adrenalized. All right. We'll catch up next time. Thanks a lot.
All right. Take care.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you can now listen live on the MyTuner Radio and online Radio Box apps for iOS, Android, and the Amazon App Store. Or check us out online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on onlineradiobox.com/US so you don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.